So I don't see Doug and I don't see, okay, I can't look at, and then I don't see Vivek there. So, but
He put X on the.
he's like, no, no, ready. Okay, so sorry for not sending out the agenda earlier, but I thought that we would take this time. I have 5 items on the agenda. First, let's go through the survey results with Mark. And then I'd like to have a discussion on, I'd like to get to what are our goals for this year as a committee. And then, but before we get there, let's have a discussion about what we would like to do differently this year than we did last year. And then Rebecca has gotten us started on a Finance 101. So we'd like her to walk through that project. And then if we have time, we'll talk about proposed meeting schedule for this academic year. Okay, anything else to add? Otherwise, we'll turn it over to Mark, lead us through our survey results.
Okie dokie. So we did a survey last spring and into the summer. That was basically online. It was available to everybody. We had good input, and we had 51 responses. So not a ton of responses, but we also didn't put it out for that long or advertise. This is something we can talk about moving forward. We also used some AI to kind of consolidate the survey results and look at some of the findings. From here, we can talk about how we want to synthesize or go over, discuss this data. So the 51 respondents, 100% were interested in the budget finance topic. So that's great. Everybody that is being surveyed that's coming in is interested in that. The frequency update for this is probably likely monthly. But we can talk about that as well. Maybe it's bi-monthly, maybe every other month. People are interested in quarterly as well. But those are the 2 frequencies that were the most popular. The topics of interest in kind of order of priority. Again, this is our good AI, not humans, synthesizing this, so we can talk about this. But it seems to align with what we think is out there as topics and awareness. District finance fundamentals, that's at the top of the list. And I think we've been talking about that, so that we could continue that conversation. Finance controls and policies, again, something we've been doing quite a bit, going over and consulting the district with that, so that's good. Credit card expenses and travel policy, seems like we nailed that one too, so that's good, but there's probably ongoing discussions there. Budgeting process was number 4 on the list. Number 5 was financial health, and number 6, long-term outlook. But again, 49 to 51 respondents are interested in all these topics, and that wouldn't be the only ones. There were some open-ended comments, and there was some input that seemed to either match, or perhaps there were multiple surveys done by individuals. It's always hard to tell, and doesn't matter. All that information is information we should know. But there's a desire for clear information on spending as it connects directly to classrooms, schools. So that's good. That's something that we could probably talk about more at the kind of direct interaction, kind of what Vivek was doing towards the end of the spring, outreach, meeting with people. Interest in oversight of specific expenditures. The issues that came up at the beginning of the school year last year and the transition, that stuff seems to be ongoing interest to everybody. And requests for clarity on reserves, which obviously will probably be a big topic coming up the next month, 2 or 3, as we've seen the announcement from the district in the last couple of weeks. So those were some open-ended comments we can think about and talk about more. To kind of close out, there was an analysis of this done by the AI. I think it matches what we're thinking. Strong engagement potential. There's a lot of folks that are interested and want to know more. So how can we get out there and kind of serve that and support that? Building trust is also something that I think is a topic. So I think we're doing a good job of thinking about these things. Now we know more than we knew, so we can start to maybe act a bit more on specifics. And transparency is crucial. So open-ended responses that emphasize that, clear linkage of dollars spent to classroom student impact, details on consultant and vendor spending, understanding how budget decisions translate into educational quality. And then beyond the basics, there were a few more things. internal controls, spending policies. Again, these are all related to the topics I think I've brought up that the survey caught from parents, from the public. Communication format, monthly seems to be good, via email would be good, but I think, there's some other ideas probably in the room and outside the room about how to do more direct kind of connection with the community. Recommendations, publish monthly summaries. That would be a recommendation. Budget allocations, key changes in spending, progress on major projects. So those three things are kind of being highlighted here in the survey. Periodic forums. So this kind of connects back to, not just the board meetings are long and have a lot of content and volume from other stuff. So we might think about, continuing to figure out how to do direct to school, a PTA, etc. Clarify impact. That's probably good. I mean, a lot of us here in work and business and return on investment and ROI is a pretty big deal for folks. Kind of boils down to that same way when you think about education. And then address specific concerns. And I believe that is a good place to stop. Overall, the survey signals a community eager for robust financial transparency, frequent communication from the Budget Advisory Committee. Addressing the feedback proactively could strengthen trust and collaboration between the district and families. So that was that. I think it was good information to get. I think it's a start. And any questions, comments? I think there were some comments to the analysis that we can talk about, but I don't know if we want to move on and back. It's up to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think let's roll in, keeping those survey results in mind. Let's talk about what we want to do differently this year compared to last year.
It feels to me like there could be a way to get more input, so which would give us a little wider spectrum and perhaps diversity. We can talk about that. There may be a way to drop that in other things that are happening, like a QR code that's printed on something that's given out and it's in front of you and you can just go and do it on your phone.
Yeah.
Some of these tactics we can talk about. But I believe that we should probably do it again, but try to get a wider input and deeper would be good. Yeah. So.
For sort of what was it called, Mark? The regular forums, whichever format we're deciding to do, would probably give us an opportunity to go deeper and follow up. I'm assuming we're, in my head at least right now, it's a bi-directional kind of forum, not like the board meetings are technically bi-directional as well, because you can attend them in person and ask questions. They are maybe a little the board meetings might be a little intimidating. So I'm wondering if we can find a way for these forums to have a casual feel so that people are safe space type, that they're willing to ask questions. Those are my first two thoughts. In terms of cadence, I think having these forums 2 to 4 times a year is probably enough. I don't think that financial information, and then I'm looking at you two, is worth really diving in more often than that. I know you're doing 2 interims, kind of update the budget throughout the year, so even three would probably be enough, kind of align it with that. I don't know if that's, I'm getting too much into details right now, just wanted to get those thoughts out right now.
Well, I think you're onto something. I mean, how can we alleviate the amount of volume at the board meeting to not dilute what's going on here?
Yeah.
We have 3 trimesters, obviously. So maybe looking at doing 3, but setting it up in a way where it can prep and be in advance of a board meeting so that people can have a lot of information. Maybe the questions there can be
3
more.
being the interim updates.
Yeah, are we talking about our team our committee meetings or like a public?
Forum. So a forum or a platform for information.
So that can be typically done during a study session, right? That is held completely separate from a board meeting.
Yeah.
Because there's too much business to do during a board meeting, and that allows everybody to focus, and that could be held in the evening or sometimes on the weekend.
Is study sessions a thing? Does that happen?
Oh, yeah.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
What is it exactly?
Basically, yeah. We've had meetings like 3 hours.
They're ad hoc or they're regularly?
No, we schedule them and basically yeah, and
Thinking of an AMA, kind of like an Ask Me Anything.
no,
Within the-
we have a focus, we have an agenda, and basically we will discuss the topics and it can be open to the public. I personally like to see a little more interaction than just either formal Brown Act kind of thing.
I'm wondering, because what I think I'm hearing is people wanting to understand things more. And I notice sometimes when we're answering questions, there's also a need for like a understanding of district finances, because it's very different than private industry. And so sometimes the questions, there's lots of good questions, but to answer them in a way that is understandable, you have to understand how it works. So I wonder if there needs to be topics, like, yes, ask me anything. So maybe it's like the first topic is like, I like the idea, ask me anything. First topic is whatever is hot for people. Like we talk about travel. We talk like, this is what we just put in place. And like the budget advisory committee can help with that because you guys also see it with a different lens. So there's like a mini understanding, because I noted for our last budget adoption, some of the questions that were coming in were good questions, but they needed a lot more information in order to understand. Like there was a constituent that was confusing CPI with AP growth. Like I could definitely see how that could happen, but they're so different and they impact our budget very, very differently. So I think it's a mixture of the both. That's what I'm wondering, that it's
I wonder if we almost call it like an office hours where we start with I don't know, like a 30-minute intro and then
I actually think the intro should be a pre-work coming. If you want to like to make the live sessions more productive, I
like
think
that, yeah.
Because if we, for example, like
please read this before
yes,
you arrive.
exactly, like you know,
Yeah.
do your homework as well.
Why don't we collect ideas in the next meeting? We set a goal.
Yeah, I think we're getting too tactical.
Okay, yeah.
Because I think we're on to something.
Okay, so some sort of periodic forum to periodic public forum. And what's the primary purpose of this?
To further engage with the community on the finance of the district, the financing of the district, and to build more engagement, provide more information on financial activities for the district,
Yeah,
and engage with more and wider and a deeper source of the community.
Yeah.
Um,
and I think we should also, because we don't want to do these monthly, I think we should time these near or either before or after the interim budget updates. And then that way we can help the public understand like how to read these things and how to answer. And then we can also answer the questions that they have about this.
Yeah, I think we'll find the topics can evolve, so we can address the first one. If it's trimesters, first one is just providing a ton of information in Q&A. And then people have that information somewhere. Maybe the second one is more like what's going on with this year in the transition, because the topic of the reserve is going to be a big one, right, all year. And it should be. But I think we can get ahead of where we can see it going unilaterally, but keep it kind of bi-directional. It can have both sides, you know. I mean that in the sense of positive and negative. But obviously we need everybody to mutually engage. But I think that process I think everybody here's got great ideas. Why don't we set a goal for the next meeting to maybe spend 25% of the time deciding on dates and the content?
Mark, would you take the lead on this and put a proposal together that we can react to?
Sure.
And then you started us on things that we'd like to do differently. You started talking about the community survey and ways to improve on it. Do we want to do another community survey this year?
I feel like this is basically replacing that.
It's replacing that?
That's my
I'm gonna include it with it. I think that let's just do a TBD on that. I mean,
Okay.
I don't think we need to do it to get information that we thought we didn't know, which we didn't, but now we have it. But I think with Vic and Doug, well, Vic, especially because he last spring was kind of spearheading outreach. I feel like there's something we can do, but it could be down the road. I
Okay.
feel like this takes priority,
Okay,
but I'll include that in the proposal.
I also think we have a lot of information to work with
Yeah.
for the next couple of months already.
Yeah, actually, that was one thing I wanted to add to your original question. What do we want to do differently? I think the survey was a good first step. I do think similarly, we need to provide something for folks who are interested to also react to. Because I think we're doing a lot of like, what do you guys want? But sometimes, they don't have a base level understanding. So we need to give them that for them to also. So I think just tactically call it, I don't know, a newsletter or just a general update, but like one email or one paragraph saying like, this is what the committee is planning to accomplish this year. This is what we've accomplished thus far, just some sort of very high level update. Like we published this Finance 101 deck and we are holding our first office hours. We'll have them for the next, we'll have 2 more in this year. So again, it seems like they're like, oh, is our feedback actually resulting in any action? And I think it is. They just can't see it. So just giving them that visibility.
I like that idea because I bet most people don't even know that this,
This exists, that we're
It
meeting,
exists.
like what are we
and if you
discussing?
push out information
Exactly.
and invite them to respond and things like that, you get a lot more traction.
So yeah, we can also discuss like frequency of updates or newsletters. I do think monthly is a bit much. Yeah. I mean, we don't even meet monthly. So to try to generate, output every month would be hard. But
In order to satisfy I'm building on what you just said, in order to satisfy sort of the trust, engagement, transparency. Well, I'm thinking out loud here. I was gonna say, in order to satisfy that, would it make sense if we pushed out through official school channels, a low-key newsletter giving an update on what we discussed at the board meeting? I'm aware that we have notes that are published on the website, but if somebody does not actively seek out the district website to actually look at the meeting notes, they don't have that. Would it make sense to, I guess, be a little more aggressive and send either just the notes out that way or the notes with some additional information to also satisfy that educational piece that I think we heard come through, right? That financial literacy, no, not literacy, that's not the right word, but sort of also helping them better understand the district financials that are not self-explanatory.
Yeah, I mean, I could see something like a 1-page newsletter and sort of almost in a short newsletter format with links to further detail, but
Yeah,
make it look sort of formal and,
I think it has,
here it is, here's the,
yeah. I think the key is for it to be digestible. Like,
Yeah.
I think people, I mean, this is recorded, but I highly doubt anyone's going to go through an hour of meetings or even the notes. Like they're very dry, right? So I think it has to be digestible in a way that can be easily synthesized by a person who's not.
topics people we're talking about, and here's a link to give input, try to,
I think that's one of the biggest
Project.
problems is that we're gonna have to try to stay apolitical here, but we're in a different time since we met last, and things have changed and people are feeling different ways of probably a lot disadvantaged financially in other ways. Access. So I think accessible and digestible. How do we make it super accessible? We can get kind of little creative, there's a way to try to align and provide a QR code somewhere. People are on their phone all the time. How can we give access to more people to look at it? And maybe it's aligning with schools, the PTAs at our schools, making sure that there's just a 5-minute kind of hello, we're here during either biannually but I think this could all come through in the next meeting, and this is super important. But I do feel like a lot of people aren't just in their busy life accessing information like this. So that may be where we are more proactive in at least putting it in front of you.
That's a really good point. I think sometimes when we hold meetings as a district, we have very few people show up. So sometimes it's about who we're drawing, because it's hard, I imagine it's hard to get away in the evening. But to your point about making it accessible, I noticed that Los Altos, they did a video. I watched it.
Yeah, me too. I
watched it.
at speed, but I watched it.
So maybe to that point, maybe it's because the meetings don't tend to be, especially most people see our stuff as dry, and they, we haven't historically, like, it's not a big attention getter, but maybe like, I love the idea of like, maybe it's like it's a lot to do once. I mean, it sounds easy, but it's a once a month or whatever cadence the group decides. It's like I love the QR code.
Yeah,
Like, hey, watch a 5-minute video on what, and you guys design the topics.
well, it's an easy one too, because I can do that size in already going out stuff.
Yeah.
If you're looking at it, we do something like, hey, where's your local taxpaying dollars going for your student? Question mark. You're gonna grab your phone and go there.
Right.
We can talk about this, but
I think we want to stick to deliverables that are accessible and that we can put onto, because we have a space on the website. And so let's create content for that, the Budget Advisory Committee website. And then I like this idea of the regular email or blurb. And I think it is just, I think I'm wondering if we can ask Superintendent Bauer if we can add a little sentence. I think it should be like 2 sentences. That's like
the link.
Yeah, like,
Yes.
we've been doing X, Y, and Z, first interims coming up. Check out our Finance 101 here at our website link. So and then we can also ask, the PTAs to include it in their letters, but it's not great coverage there. So I think that will alleviate like having to come up with monthly content. Yeah.
But it seems like at least from the survey synthesis, we need to provide more tangible,
Okay.
things outward.
I think we're talking about the same thing, because I think the content needs to be what we're doing here. And then the minutes, maybe they get done into a abbreviation, but I think you're right, Patty. We don't need to create new content. How do we kind of streamline it so that it's in sequence, supporting, and then providing some kind of tangibles beyond that call to action for community?
Right.
And really, we're part of the community. We're looking for the community to kind of bridge more this way. So
Right. Okay, so I've been taking notes on our meeting minutes page, just to keep track. We've talked about things that we'd like to do differently. Maybe not. We'll do another community survey. We'd like to include a short blurb, some kind of monthly or every other month update to keep the community like thinking about finance, which we think is super awesome, but maybe other people think is less interesting. And then we want to work on some sort of, instead of doing the listening project like we did last year, we want to work on some sort of periodic public forum. We'll talk about that. Also last year, we talked about doing kind of special topics, like 2 special topics a year. Do we want to do that again this year?
With credit card policy, one of them, credit card and travel policy.
Yeah. So yes.
I wonder if you're doing a focus on outreach, maybe you take on 1 instead of 2. But it depends on your.
Sorry. Did you, in the comments, with regards to the finances, did one kind of specific topic stand out to you that folks want to? I remember you said something about credit card transactions, credit card use. So maybe as
that one,
sorry.
I think that one is, I don't know if that's an individual kind of new topic, and we can talk more about that. It feels like we addressed that last year.
Yeah, it's educational though, because I don't know if most people know what the process is. Like, unless they actively watch board meetings, they might not know.
Well, so if what the question, so yeah, this comes back to, I think, next month, talking about
Oh, okay.
how we address everything, but
Yeah.
you brought this up because your question right now is, can you repeat your question? You had about-
We want to do special topics and how many? And I think,
Well,
yeah.
I was gonna suggest that could be driven by Superintendent Bear too, right?
Yes.
And I would invite him early on in the year, right, to come in and talk to us. One thing I know I talked to him about before summer started that there's a real need for, and he specifically mentioned the back to do this, is that the contract process that the board put in place is sort of bluntly, it's just not working out very well. It's way too burdensome for the staff and it needs to be revamped. Okay. So.
Okay.
That is should be happen sooner than
So
later.
we're not meeting every month. What's our cadence for meeting moving forward? Will we meet in September? No.
Or we have to
We haven't decided that, but I think right now, I think the consensus is, yes, we would like to do a special topic. We don't need to decide what that is right now. And then my other question is it one topic or two topics? Or we can not decide that now as well, but I think it would help us schedule our work if we just thought about, is it one topic or two topics?
I'm also inclined to agree with Rebecca on one, just because it seems
Just
like
one?
it seems ambitious already what we know.
Okay.
yeah, I agree with that. Last year we met monthly, correct?
Thanks.
And we did the survey and we did the travel policy. So those are two topics in total over the year, including, organizing ourselves two separate projects, let's call them projects. And so if we did that again this year, we focus on the one, for example, the contract approval process, and then the other is our outreach communications project. So I think that's two, and I think that's covers plenty of time.
Just a thought too, I think it'd be useful to explore, not that we'll solve it today, but what trust means and as a goal here, and the brief analysis and what actions we can take specifically to build that trust and what trust means in finances of the school district for people.
Very nebulous.
Better.
No, but it is, but it's like, it's unfortunate, it's important. right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It's hard to translate into tactical steps. Yeah.
If I kind of just looking at this kind of visually, there's money, finances, and there's kind of eyeballs and awareness. So if those two things, if I looked at those as hubs from the beginning of the conversation, like what are we here doing moving forward? All these things could be forks, and where do they belong? So like money, it's pretty factual, fact-based, right? The awareness, there's a bit more, but it falls, everything we're talking about, I'm not trying to give everybody that, keep that visual, but for me, it makes it easier to think about how we organize to stay focused. But I think the one topic, TBD, I keep bringing up to reserve. I do think we need to get ahead of that conversation because that one is going to start getting real strong. So whatever we can do to be mentored from the district to understand what's going on. I've worked in organizations where we've gone from 192,000 small organizations, 192K that sat there for 10 years and had to spend out that within 3 months. People were freaking out. That's why they're there. So I think that is a topic that we absolutely should prioritize, however this group decides.
And we're also working on the first Finance 101. So that is another deliverable. That could be one of our topics. So I do actually think we have capacity to handle two topics if we're like pretty open-ended about what does it mean to deep dive on something. So yeah. I know we've kind of melded into goals for 2025-26. Some of the things that I'm just going to read the list that I came in with. Publish our Finance 101, establish committee bylaws. Like, so one of the things we talked about at the end of last year was like, how do we govern ourselves going forward? What is this? How does this committee work? I think there needs to be continued maturity on this, on how this committee works. We also have last year we talked about delivering feedback on first interim, second interim, and draft new fiscal year budget. It sounds like that was something that was helpful for the superintendent's office. Do we want to continue doing that? One or two special topics, another survey question, build trust question. So yeah. Yeah, it is a lot. Maybe what I'll do is maybe I'll take the action similar to Mark. I'll put together a proposal for our next meeting so that we can discuss and revise based on this discussion here. Okay. All right. I think we're doing pretty well on time. So Rebecca, you want to take it away on Finance 101?
Yeah, just get the enable share.
Here you go.
So this is very much in draft form, but wanted to get everyone's feedback on this. So the purpose of this is to just be a crash course for anyone who's interested in basically district finance fundamentals, so that we're all, operating on this. We're level set on how district financials are different from corporation. So the objectives is to just provide a brief district introduction, deep dive into or provide an overview of revenue sources, expenditure buckets, kind of current discussion topics or top of mind, and then address some facts through the results of the survey, through what's come up through discussion in this forum. Okay, so district intro, this was heavily borrowed and leveraged from the budget book, but this district is medium-sized, well-funded. This verbiage again is from the budget book. High quality academic programs, learning recovery, student mental health. Have a reaction? Okay. I think specifically as it relates to finances, we're continuing to right-size the overall budget based on declining property tax growth, expanded student services, and addressing the topic of trying to maintain what has historically been a healthy reserve. So this includes primarily refining expenditures toward high student impact through an inherently dynamic budgeting process. Reaction.
Come on.
Yeah.
We're anxiously anticipating the word.
You don't have to, feel free to add comments. And
Can we
update.
send comments to you?
Or I'll share this and you can just drop a
Yeah.
comment directly. Don't have to digest it all right now. Okay,
I'm gonna add though, because I'm kind of mind reading here. Give yourself some credit.
What's that?
Give yourself some credit. It's okay.
Yeah.
I do want to say that because you do a good job. You put a lot of time in here. Whether you get the thanks for it or not, you're a part of this district in a big way.
what's
I'll put. I'll add. Okay, I guess. Overall, this is a thing I think I've talked to. So over the years, I've been involved in the school district. What I've noticed is that the school districts are increasingly being called upon to provide services to the community. This has sort of gone on over the years, and incrementally, it's certainly accelerated during COVID, but it continues even now mainly because the federal and state governments are taking away the funding, but the expectation is still there. Communities are looking for the school districts to fill in the gap, and it's reflected quite a bit in the statement. And what I think school districts need to really think about is that our main job is to educate our students. Okay. And certainly public services help our students learn, but we can't do everything. And so that's just sort of the fundamental without getting into the details and extra thoughts. And I see this as reading it. I get the focus on services rather than education. So
I see.
Appreciate you bringing
so maybe people read it differently. That's just my reaction.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
that's the
please.
reality of our budget, right?
It is the reality.
Reality of our budget, right?
And I would
Try to change.
I would think about that.
Yeah.
especially when we're talking about declining tax revenues and things like that. But it's not just school districts.
Yeah.
I mean, we could get very, very political about it, but basically it's governments passing on, since they're not providing jobs, they're not providing these services, they're passing it on to local communities. And we just can't do it, right?
Yeah, I mean.
Anyways,
Your
it's
thought.
sort of, it's something it's a reality, but it's also something to.
I mean, I do think it's important if we want to change the tone of the narrative.
Yeah.
We should.
I think that was sort of,
Yeah. Anyways, okay.
I always would want to, as a school board, I'm right. Well, all of us, we're working for the school education. That is our core competency. That is our core goal. And,
But I guess in your mind, how can you differentiate just this general providing education with the services, like the individuals? Maybe this is the
I
conversation.
think it's a really good point, Bill, and I don't think we'll solve it by writing a new slide. So I would encourage us to try to find existing language that's consistent with the district objectives.
and I think the district is thinking about its objectives. I mean, I think it is. Because we,
Okay, well,
I'm not suggesting that, that's what I thought, that's why I was sort of suggesting sending
strong reactions. I'm just curious.
sending an email about it rather than to.
Yeah, either one. Okay, well, move on in the interest of time. Okay, so I know, Patty, you mentioned one of the suggestions was to start with expenditures first and then revenue. Being the finance professional, and I can't help but to put revenue first, but we can discuss the order later. So this is taken, the highlighted numbers are need to be updated, but it was taken from the fact sheet. So this is proposed 25-26 budget. Just
Question, is there comparable in here to other places? Or?
that will come in the next couple slides. But yeah, this is just a snapshot, very high level of what are our revenue sources for 25-26. How does it break down into the percentage buckets and what is that overall per student? And then wanted to just give a little bit more context. What is else, like, as a layman person coming in, what is LCFF? Like, what does that actually mean in layman's terms? And to try to break that down a little bit.
Yeah.
Provide tactical examples.
I was looking at this slide and thinking, I don't know if 122 million is big or small. I can't tell if $26,000 is good or bad.
Yeah.
So I think we may also want to Mark's point, flip the slides where you start with the one where you tell them that this is a good number or a bad number, and then you go into the details of what is that number.
So you want to
Do like a
It's like-
Bay Area average and a national average. We don't have to name other districts.
I like slide 6.
current slide 6.
Yeah.
As the intro to the revenues.
Well, if that's what we need for context.
Right.
To
Yeah.
start, okay.
So that's what I mean. Start with the context and then go into the numbers.
Got it.
Because it almost doesn't matter what
Yeah,
the
yeah.
number is.
Understood. Yeah.
Although when I see that number, I'm blown away. That's a lot of free money for my kid when I do the math, 12 years.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Not necessarily free.
well, yeah, okay, that's.
So comparison, private school, maybe that's something to talk about too. Local private schools, what's their tuition?
Yeah.
$1,000 a year,
Yes.
right?
Right.
That's context too.
Secondarily, because that one could be bait for some other folks to change the conversation
Oh.
totally.
Okay.
I mean, when I look at that, I go, I do think it's good to have a local because this group knows it's gonna be high all the way around.
Yeah.
Maybe some certain parts. So I'm kind of curious, other parts of California, other parts of the nation. Because I think we're gonna find other parts of the nation probably have.
So let's be very,
Yes.
let's be very specific. So I think, Rebecca pointed out, we should be very strategic about which local comparison points we provide. So Sunnyvale, LAUSD, Saratoga, and MVLA, I think are the comps, area comps. California average, it sounds like, and national average. I mean, are these,
I can probably find California average and national average.
Our AI, we gotta not use it.
I don't- I don't-
Yeah.
I think also,
Check it, because it could be wrong.
Yeah.
It's forever legal. Okay.
Yeah, I think we also want to be cognizant of providing too much information, like, this is one school district, but anyways.
Should we have MVLA and PAUSD there?
This is just a complete, just a snapshot, like a.
Keep going, but these are
Okay,
good.
let's keep going. Okay,
There is a thread of the narrative here that's all the way around what you were talking about. What is our life? Do we separate our private life from our kids' education? There's this narrative here. There's a really interesting conversation, I think, for a foundational topic.
So it sounds like start with this. So just to set the context, what are the comparables? Is this good or where do we fall in terms of Bay Area, California, and the nation? I'm so interested in your reaction.
Wait, are you done? Or is there more?
No, I don't have a good poker face, so, I mean, yeah, I'm trying to think too, but this is part of the funding our kids receive, right? So we get monies from MV, education, we get money from the,
Is that reflected in the?
it's reflected in,
it's in reflected
yes, it's in there. Everything's in there.
PTAs.
Yes. Oh, we don't really budget PTAs because those go to the school sites, but in totality of our budget, the PTA donations are fairly small. And they're restricted for each school use.
It's Foundation.
Foundation is in there.
Because they give directly to the district.
Yes.
So that's included.
We want to see that separated out. Maybe on the next slide where we talk about revenue sources.
Okay, so in terms of order and flow, we want to set the context in terms of comparables. Then do we want to go specifically into what's the breakdown of our revenues? And then I think in here we can include where MVEF falls under and how much it contributes.
Something that we changed for our budget adoption presentation is we added more graphs. So I wonder if we can put this table into a graph or like a pie chart. It seemed to help.
Sure, I'm open. I personally don't like pie charts.
I put them up. I prefer so I can see the numbers, but that seemed to resonate. But I'll ask the rest of the.
We can include those.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I prefer the spreadsheet so I can see it.
I like the slide after this because it has both the revenues and the pie chart, the split of sources. But the thing that I don't like about this chart is that it looks like the revenue coming in from 2026 is going to be great. Or 2025 is great. And so that is not consistent with the story of like, hey, we're worried about yeah.
Well, so the 21, the first two are dummy numbers. And then I don't know how accurate, I need to confirm 3, 4, and 5 because I just pulled them from the SACS file, but so this is not, it may be that the first two columns are higher potentially. I don't know.
Okay.
So these are like, so
If we include 27, 28 and like gray them out to show that this is like
sure.
what's budgeted.
I think the missing piece here is like when I'm wondering, so for private industry, as long as you see an upward trend, you're good.
Yeah.
But for us, because we're keeping up with CPI and our raises that we give to teachers and step and column. So each step is 4%, raise this year's 5%. Our expenses are growing faster than our revenue.
Yeah.
The upward trend,
Yeah.
like that's everywhere.
Yeah.
and I think you can't deny, this is like the actual number of facts.
Yeah.
I think what we're talking about though is, I think maybe I'm reading in too much. Given the reserve situation, that, and companies talk about top and bottom line and then holdings, right? So what's our top and bottom line holdings kind of thing? That's where the reserves provide that reality of this year. But I don't know, I mean, it feels to me like this is good information, but again, is this the information only, and how do we want people to?
Yeah, so there's more. I mean, so we're first gonna talk about just like what is the revenue? Where does it come from? What makes up the majority? Same thing with expenditures. And then I think there's a section that's top of mind where exactly we want to point out both that the reserves levels are projected to dip pretty low, specifically because expenses growth is going to outpace revenue growth. So I think
But I do agree there is an inconsistency here. So just forget about going forward, but the last several years, we've had on average 7.5% AV growth. And I don't see it, it's not reflected in that blue bar.
It's because of the y-axis, because it's the numbers big.
Rachel, maybe the wording too, like the revenue history. I mean, again, I write like this quite often, right? I'll have a little bit more qualifying language in there, but the revenue history is there has been a history of healthy kind of maintenance. We're now up against a different situation.
yeah, so I think this is more setting the stage,
It's just wording.
but yeah, if the message is conflicting, then we can.
I mean, is that what your concern is? That we're trying to paint a picture here that everything's rosy right now when it's not?
No, I think I'm agreeing with her point, is that we're trying to build trust in the community. We want to make whatever we're doing, we'll make sure it's consistent and it makes sense, okay? And so I guess I'm just looking at this and I do see an inconsistency in these numbers and the AV growth that we've had for the last several years.
I don't think there's inconsistency in the numbers, because the numbers are the numbers.
Yeah, that's-
I think there's inconsistency in maybe understand
Sorry, also, these are dummy numbers too, so it's not.
You say this, I'm confused.
the first 2 year.
Yeah.
These, is this numbers we should be looking at going, oh, those.
No, so this is, I guess, yeah, that's a good point. I'd like you to react to the visual, like, is the information laid out, not necessarily the numbers themselves, but is the information laid out in a way that's easily digestible? Do we get the key facts across, which is like, basically what is our historical revenue trend looked like?
I think we might need to show AB growth as opposed to,
Yeah.
because the percent growth is more dramatic than
I
looking.
mean, you can also
but
make the scale lower.
that's
so
true.
that
You
the
just
minimum-
adjust the
yeah,
scale.
yeah.
That could do it too. Actually, that would do it.
But we can also overlay AV growth.
Good idea.
I think we've had one for 4 to 5 days growth.
Yeah, I can share it. So don't remake it.
Sure, yeah.
As for the title, instead of revenue history, does it make sense if we say until 2024? Or whatever year until when it flipped? Mountain View District has been reaping the benefits of.
Yeah, I think that's why it's important to include the next 3 years projection.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, gotcha.
And then this will be revised based on what that.
Rebecca, quick time check. We have about 6-7 minutes left.
Yeah.
Can you wrap this up in
Yeah.
another 3 minutes or so?
Sure. Okay, so same thing. So I'll skip this slide for now, but same thing on the expenditure side. So I'll flip the order. Basically, we want to. Yeah. How do we compare? What's our comps? What is the breakdown? I think it's important to separate instructional versus G&A because the vast majority is direct to student. So when I think it's important to put in context. Yes, it's important that we assess the contracting process, but is this really going to make the huge, that big of a dent in the overall numbers? Similarly, what's the trend been? We've been pretty consistent, at least the past 3 years, we've been pretty consistent, 80% plus directional instructional support.
Regarding the black line, I think the growth is more interesting than the split.
Okay. We talked about kind of this tale of two houses / 2 buildings, which exists in the LAUSD deck, but given how much
For you.
yeah, but given how much chatter we've already had on the first couple slides, maybe we move this to the appendix.
Sure.
Or-
Totally up to you guys.
But anyways, okay, we can Besides that. And then we have the top of mind. So I think number one, like was brought up multiple times, we want to definitely drive home the point that yes, we have increasing revenues, but we have larger increasing expense space. I know teacher housing land purchase was a big topic in Mountain View Voice. Rebecca, you mentioned, let's talk about what makes our district unique. So I think we definitely want to have a dedicated slide on the first bullet point. And then facts were some things that came up through the survey. So we can collectively figure out how we just include a paragraph to address.
In-house PE, that question might be picked up by Ed Services this
What
year.
does that mean? You're now speaking?
Instead of contracting rhythm and moves, having all
Oh,
teachers.
okay. Physical education.
So I will share this out. Feel free to drop in comments.
Do you want to assign or ask people for help, specific help?
Yeah, I think I will eventually. In terms of, I would like to set a end date. When does I think it would be good to send this out at the same time as like the budget adoption, but I don't know if that's right.
Yes.
Oh,
I think before first interim. So first interim.
Yeah, that might be.
maybe this can be, I was just thinking ideally it would be good to have this as an accompaniment to an actual official budget deliverable, but it doesn't have to be.
Well, I mean, we had, but you mean first interim?
You wanted budget adoption, that information is available, but if you want first interim, we will have it.
Oh, I know. She was thinking of a due date.
Yeah.
So like when we present first interim, we would also say this is also available for you to
Yeah,
review.
but I feel like that's probably too far out, so we can just publish this separately. But yes, I think eventually we'll try to assign out. We'll lean heavily on not give Rebecca for the data, but yeah, maybe before in the next 1 to 2 weeks, if you guys can provide feedback on. Yeah. But for this group to provide feedback on flow, I think, keep the focus on like the meta message. Do we need to reframe the narrative to focus less on like tactical services and deliverables? I think is there conflicting messaging? Is it confusing? Yeah.
Powerful how the budget advisory committee went out and they presented this like to PTAs. It's great to have FaceTime. And I don't know if that's something that we think would be useful.
Do we want this to be the pre-read before the public forum? It's gonna take us some time to get the public forum up and going too.
I feel like the only addition that I would make here in terms of the content is attaching next step, call to action. There's a reason we're providing this specific info, but if you don't want to follow us next time, where can you go get it? So I think the piece of this probably has a nice opportunity for us to also say, and by the way, this is always available. And these, so probably in the slides, but I'll provide you some feedback. This is great. Thanks, Rachel.
Yes,
Did this already get presented?
it's a really good start. It's great to have it in one
Needed it.
piece.
Yeah, something to react to exactly, which is why I think similarly we should do the same too.
Thank you so much, Rebecca.
Thank you guys.
And I like the idea of whatever group, pitching this to some group and get their reactions and specifically what story are they taking away from this?
As like
Oh God, we're in huge panic mode. Oh, this is really interesting basic information. We
a test run.
Yeah, it just, because I think with a lot of these kind of things, especially with the school district, however you pitch it, right? You want the message to be sort of empowering and positive,
Yeah.
okay? Even if it,
And I think we also want to make,
even if we're declining funding, right? But you pitch it in a good way.
and I think we also want to make sure we are driving the message that we want to drive and to make sure that that's landing with
Yeah, you're not communicating the wrong message,
Yeah,
right?
I think
So I don't think December is too far away. It's if that's like our final deliverable and we want to do a beta test before that. So I would say something like, I mean, September is going to come up really fast. And so I would target kind of end of September, early October for a first draft to test with a safe audience and get some feedback. And then there's probably a couple layers of review with the superintendent, for example, that we want to do before finalizing in December. And also I imagine that our public forum we'd want to do that before first or in or around first interim. And so that kind of lands us in November anyway, and then it's like holidays. So
I get concerned that we need to get stuff done before Thanksgiving.
yeah.
I think we should write the rest of the year off for this stuff.
Mhm.
It gives us time. I've got more time now. I ship the other one off. I've got more time. I think that again, I hate to be redundant, but we can get ahead of this reserve topic in a way to provide more of this info, because that's where it's going to come to a head. People are going to go to this here and go, why?
Oh,
What's going on?
So you
So
want
I would
this?
like to see us accelerate so that by the end of October, we've kind of done our job before Christmas. Now, that may not be reasonable, but again, I'm willing to spend a little.
Mark, are you thinking of this as like the primer before we start talking about reserves?
No, I actually think everything that we presented today is kind of organically working together, including the other less clear topic about how we separate education costs from breakfast and babysitting, and we're just being there. I think all of this is totally interrelated. I just feel like, and again, I wasn't at the last meeting, apologies, but we had enough time here. I think we, over the next 90 days, should really try to, I don't use the word to have, kind of build the foundation for these two things we've talked about, like financial transparency and awareness. Again, we can only do what we can do, but I think we haven't talked about that, but we could talk about meeting monthly or.
That leads to meeting cadence.
Meeting cadence. So I think so last year we met like every other week, and I think that was because we were trying to figure out what is our purpose.
We only met every other month.
No, I think it balanced out actually. We ended
Okay.
up with, like a monthly meeting because we did like 3 and then 1 and then
Yeah.
none. And
Yeah,
Toward the end though, we met in March and then we met in May and then it was like the end of the school year.
right.
So
Yeah,
maybe I'm just remembering.
we front loaded ourselves.
Yeah.
So, but it also sounds like we have a lot going on in these in right now as we're planning. So I would propose that we meet maybe in like 2 or 3 weeks. And then we can Mark and I can come with the proposals. Rebecca can provide the next revision. And then we can kind of set, I think the goals will determine what our meeting cadence is. So I'll get the interim budget updates from Nadia and Rebecca and then and propose some dates for you guys to look at. Would that work? And then in probably a similar meeting cadence to last year where we meet a little more often during the fall. And then there's probably a little bit of a lull after Thanksgiving, as Mark puts it.
it seems like that just is a tough time for everybody.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks to give feedback, maybe 1 week for you to prepare and build that in. And so in 3 weeks, the next meeting.
Sure.
Yeah. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Thank you. Yeah.
And then maybe start every month after that.
And monthly,
Mhm.
3 weeks from now is like last week of August and then end September. Is end of September too late? End of September, end of October.
For the next meeting?
For all the things we wanted to accomplish, because Mark suggested having basically this first project done by the end of October. That's only 2 meetings until then. That's end August and end September.
Yeah. Well, I say what I say because if we just meet and we keep organized and we keep setting goals, we'll get there. We may not get there till January, but I think if we are up here and doing what we're supposed to do, we can get a lot accomplished.
We'll have to do a lot in between meetings.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have end of August, end of September, end of October, end of November. Sounds good. Mid-November.
So I'm gonna send an invite out for August 27th.
Is there a chance we can start them at 4:15 or 4:30? Or did we
I have it scheduled right now for 4:15.
want to keep that? Is that the easiest? For everyone?
It'll go on Wednesdays, right? I'll be slightly late, and that's okay.
That's okay.
I don't want to send anyone else out.
What date did you say?
27th, August 27th, 4:15, same time.
My, the new school, Castro, our staff meetings are slightly later. They're like 10 to 15 minutes later, so it'll just be later, but that's okay.
A little bit later would be better for me too. But that's fine.
Whenever. It's 4:30 better?
I think early is better because people know they're
Yeah, pick
Okay.
up.
That's good.
charging by minute.
Great job, everyone.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm gonna.
So, can you send that,
Oh, yeah.
did you send that around?
Yeah.